When are you gonna get with the future, Matt? 4K is the future.
As soon as we get more data. So.
Are you a real YouTube like channel creator here, or are you a little bitch? Nobody watches 1080 anymore. Everyone has 4K TVs.
Well,
4K TVs,
I'm a
Matt.
Bitch,
what are you doing? You're gonna live in the past forever? Is that what you're gonna do?
Yes.
God.
I love your rants, Jonathan.
What a waste of time.
Alright, boys and girls, the moment you've all been waiting for. We're gonna start our timing. Whoa, Quinn. Can you control yourself, buddy?
Sorry.
We brought the expert in today for this.
So today we're gonna talk, I still didn't mute my phone. We're gonna talk about cam gears today, kids. So Brian installed his cams, intake and exhaust, and there is an orientation here for the gears to the cam. So you could see these alignment notches here are pointing up. So we basically have the cams in the rough, top dead center position. So on the intake cam gear, you see the eye, as noted here, is pointing up. So when we're actually TDC and we time this motor, that will be at the 12 o'clock. And then the exhaust side, the E right here will be pointing up. So you can see our timing mics here. The E matches up with the E on the timing cover, and then the I on this side matches up with the I on the timing cover. We'll talk a little bit more in depth when we put the timing belt on here as how we're actually going to time this and where we kind of want to line these up exactly, because it could be a little bit tricky. It is easy on these cars to be off a tooth, especially the way the motor sits in the car if you're doing this with the engine in the car. So it's really important to look at it head on, but we'll discuss that more as we time the motor. So next, Brian is going to put a little Loctite blue.
Loctite blue.
Blue. All right, now lick that off my finger. So just a little bit, we don't need much. And we're gonna put this in here and we're gonna torque this down to 40 foot-pounds.
You getting that action?
Well, that's an epic shot there. This looks like an epic motion picture. Chris Fix, eat your heart out, buddy.
That R gang. Where's my other one? Where's my other Juan?
Here. Yeah. Give me a little Loctite. You start talking now and I'll start. There we go. Teamwork. We're going to tag team this. So this thing's going to run tonight, right?
100%.
Hell yeah.
40?
40. Oh, and we need a crescent wrench because there's wrench flats on the cams to stabilize them. All right, so I'm using a crescent wrench here to steady the cam while Brian tightens it. Go ahead, buddy.
This is teamwork at its finest.
Yes, it is.
That's the whole engine moves.
Here we go. Okay, over to exhaust.
Ready?
Yes, sir. Push me backwards. Okay. So there's our cam and cam gears installed. I'm going to go over this with him in a second, but we're almost ready to put the belt on. All right, kids. Now the time has come to put our timing belt on. What brand is this anyways?
Time for timing.
Is this OEM?
I don't know.
You didn't get OEM? So we have the motor in rough top dead center. Timing notch here on the crank gear, and then our cam gears. We're gonna get it close, so we're just gonna get the belt started, and we will start to work it around, and we'll make final adjustments once we're there. Okay. So this is where it's really important that you may not necessarily be able to see this when you're outside of the car. You really want to try to get down with this eye level, because I always go by the actual casting here, this bulge in the casting. That's kind of where you want to line these up, but there is no exact alignment for them. So it really just kind of takes like staring at it. So we'll get the intake cam in place, close right there. Now we're going to lose it because they're under the valve train, the cams are under tension, so they want to like actually rotate a little bit on their own. Get this. Yeah, or just rip the whole thing off altogether.
Cut. Take two.
This is the real deal here. You guys are getting the true experience for timing belt installation.
Accidents will happen.
Here, I always like to leave exhaust side loose. So we have our tensioner is on our intake side, so I always like to get the intake side like kind of like in place where it's got to be close, and then you kind of leave the exhaust side just hanging off a little bit. Now forgive me if I struggle with this for a little bit. It's been a few years since I've timed the Miata engine. So about there for intake. Just push those into the grooves. Yep, okay. And then, so we're gonna do this loose. So because this is gonna be, there is a little bit of tension here, we're just going to kind of keep the timing belt hanging off of the gears a little bit. This is gonna help us, give us just enough slack to get it onto where we need to be. So I'm gonna pull the exhaust cam back just a titch there and try to get this going now. Yep. Okay. So we can see that the looseness in the belt is right here, but I can already see looking at this that intake is off a tooth, so it's got to come back. So just got to pop off. Gotta go. Okay. That looks a little bit better. All right, so what we can do now is we can spin it a couple times. We'll do 2 rotations to see what happens. We do have the tensioner pulley locked open, so I'm gonna let it actually, I'm gonna spin it, get the loose part over to this side, and then we're gonna lock that. So go ahead, Brian. So we're gonna watch. Here's our loose part in the belt.
Get this tight.
You want a socket, buddy? You look like you're struggling.
Maybe.
Here. Here you go. So we didn't actually put the pulley on yet just because we want to get it all lined up first. The belt's just off a little bit there.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so go ahead. We're spinning clockwise. We don't want to spin the motor reverse. I don't think it'll hurt anything, but I don't think it's good either. All right, so we're gonna watch for the loose part to come through, which I think it's, no, it's still up top, go ahead. So it's getting tight there. All right, so hold on. So here's where, so now we got the slack in here. So we could just check this, we'll just let it tension now, because this is loose. Oops. Okay. And we're gonna push this over like to really tension this, but just for the sake of checking timing. So go ahead and spin it two rotations. So hold on. All right, so we're close. So there's top dead center here. Good, good. So this is actually, we got it on the first try, which is nice. So again, this is why it's important to get eye level here. If you see where this timing notch is, it actually isn't perfectly on the casting here. But if I was to take the belt off and move the cam gear a full tooth, it would be radically off. I made this mistake a very long time ago, the first time I did one of these, because when you look at it at a downward angle, it's kind of harder to match this up to where it needs to be in the notch, and I had one of my cam gears just off a single tooth. The car ran fine, and like it just felt like a little bit down on power, just a little bit. And I actually like checked it again because it just felt like something wasn't right, and that's what it was. You really just want to get at this eye level. So again, if you were to move this, like use one tooth as a frame of reference. So if this was off one tooth, then that notch should be radically off either in one direction or the other. But we're good here, and we're perfectly centered down here. So this is perfectly in top dead center now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loosen this up a titch. Brian, I want you to push on this hard.
On the belt?
Yep, or on the tensioner. And we're gonna tighten, we're gonna snug this up to 40 foot-pounds. So we got our loose part of the belt here, it's tensioned properly, and that's it. So it's not too bad, it's just really making sure that you have good visual alignment here when you're checking timing on here. There she is.
Sick.
Not bad.